right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we got a Seattle Seahawks video for you guys tonight. Now, Seattle made a bunch of moves in the offseason via free agency, via the draft. They made a bunch of moves more tailored for the defensive side of the ball, which makes sense considering they were the 25th ranked defense last season. But with Vermont Jones, Bobby Wagner, Devon Witherspoon, so many new Jaron Reed, so many new, intriguing, talented players on the defensive side of things. The big question for Seattle upcoming is essentially Geno Smith. And everywhere I'm reading right now, it's like people are hopeful that Geno Smith can replicate the season he had last year, where he threw 30 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. He threw for 4,300 yards, over 250 yards per game. He had a completion percentage of nearly 70% coming in at 69.8. Comeback player of the year. That's the big question mark, right? So when I read power rankings, because it's July 10th and we are in the complete and utter dead part of the offseason, like there is no NFL news, there's no NFL content, there's nothing NFL going on right now. So we're seeing a lot of power rankings, and I keep seeing Seattle somewhere between the 12 and 14 rank, which makes sense. Okay, it just makes sense. The NFL, there's a lot of top-heavy talented teams, or not top heavy, but there's a lot of talented, already established squads in the NFL. Like, for example, the Baltimore Ravens come in at 11, Minnesota comes in at 12. Personally, I would actually rank Seattle above them. To me, Seattle, top to bottom, has a top 10 roster. I think it's more so towards 10 than it is 5. That is contingent to change with a lot of these new additions. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. For daily NFL content, Seahawks fans, you guys keep putting food on my table. I appreciate and love you guys so much. If we get this video to 250 likes, that would go a long way. So I get it. When we take Seattle at face value, they were 9-8. They exceeded expectations. Okay, they had an iffy defense, specifically on just the defensive line. Gave up a bunch of rushing yards last year. The first game that comes to mind was the Las Vegas Raiders game, where Josh Jacobs ran for over 200 rushing yards. They made additions via draft, via free agency on the defensive side of things. We're going to talk about offense mainly, because I'm thinking, I keep reading articles talking about power ranking, X factors, whatever it is. To me, the X factor on the Seattle Seahawks offense is Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I've been saying this before he got drafted. JSN is a stud. This past season at Ohio State, he only played 3 games. So that's very, very important. Before he got injured, he only played 3 games. So he caught 5 catches for 43 yards. Statistically, last year, there was nothing from JSN. And I've been saying that JSN, if he was healthy, he would have had a very, very, very similar season at Ohio State like he did in 2021, where he caught 95 catches for over 1,600 yards and 9 touchdowns. He averaged 17 yards per catch. I guarantee you, if he was healthy this past season for Ohio State and he just played it, I guarantee you there is no shot he falls outside of top 12. I've been saying top 10, more closer to 10 than 5, but JSN is a needle mover. And he joins an already established Seattle Seahawks defense. Once again, Geno Smith, 30 touchdown passes last year. The Seahawks in general had the 9th ranked offense, scoring about 24 points per game. You have a rookie, or you had a rookie, in Kenneth Walker, who's now entering his sophomore campaign. 228 attempts, over 1,000 yards rushing. He averaged over 4.5 yards per carry, had 9 touchdowns in total. Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State had a phenomenal rookie season. But he joins JSN and already lethal offensive weapon core. You have DK Metcalf, who is establishing himself as one of the most dominant physical wide receivers in the entire National Football League. He had 90 catches last year for over 1,000 yards. Tyler Lockett, one of the most consistent wide receivers in the league, had 84 catches for over 1,000 yards. Don't forget about the 3-headed monster you have at tight end with Noah Fant, Will Disley, and somebody who's been on my golf podcast, and Colby Parkinson. Shout out Colby Parkinson. So you have a 3-headed monster at tight end, which basically, it's 3 talented players at tight end. But formation-wise, if I'm Pete Carroll and I throw out 3 tight ends, what's the defense got to do? They've got to match it. What does JSN add? Versatility, creativity, an X factor, a playmaker type. So my point is JSN's coming onto an already talented offense. Okay, he's going to fit seamlessly. Like, seriously, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett were one of the best 1-2 punches wide receiver wise in the entire National Football League. The Seahawks, for many, many years, and this is no jab at guys like Marquise Goodwin, but they haven't had that dominant, consistent slot wide receiver that adds you that diversity, that adds you that creativity at the slot position. That's where JSN is primarily going to line up. The openness of the middle of the field is going to be completely wide open. Now, obviously, that saying didn't make any sense, so let me recalibrate that comment. The middle of the field is now a huge threat for opposing defenses when you play the Seattle Seahawks. Once again, no jab at Marquise Goodwin. He is really good at his job. He had like 400 receiving yards last year in the slot for the Seattle Seahawks. But all love to Marquise, JSN, like potential-wise, talent-wise, I mean, this is the truth here. So now I have DK, I have Tyler, I have Geno Smith, who, like, if we're being real, Geno Smith just needs to be average next season. Like, Geno literally needs to be average next year. Geno Smith could throw 25 touchdowns and 12 interceptions and over 4,000 passing yards, and that is all you need right there. Keep in mind, you're building the stats, you're building the blocks. Seattle doesn't need to win the Super Bowl next year, but they're knocking on San Francisco's door. So to me, JSN takes this Seattle Seahawks offense from 9th to potentially top 5. And with all the additions on the defensive side of things, I'm looking at Seattle's defense ranked, bottom half of last season, ranked 25th in the league, 7th worst as far as like opponents' points per game goes. And I'm like, all right, you're going to have at worst a middle of the pack defense, and you're going to have a top 10, possibly top 5 offense. Well, Seattle's a 10-win team to me. I don't care who's in the division, if it's San Francisco, Los Angeles, whatever. I don't really care who's in the division. I keep seeing all these playoff predictions, and Seattle's out of it, and I just don't understand it. Schedule, it doesn't matter. Seattle's winning 10-plus games this upcoming season, and long-term, they look really, really good. I remember making my first Seattle Seahawks video. It was like last November. I just recently had moved down from Chicago to Florida, and content was doing really bad. My buddy is a huge Florida Gator fan. He was like, let's go to this South Carolina, Florida game. And I'm like, you know what? If the Seahawks video gets over 1,000 views, I'll do it for you. 2 days past, the Seahawks video had maybe like 30 to 50 views. And all of a sudden, and out of nowhere, on the day we were planning on leaving, it just boomed. And I think the video ended up getting like 70,000 views. Seahawks fans, I seriously love you guys so much. You have changed my life, and you've been changing my life. And I appreciate you guys so much. And I will give you guys the best possible content out there. I know we're in the dead season right now with NFL content, but man, once training camp starts up, until then, honestly, and just for the foreseeable future, I got you guys with Seahawks content. So once again, I appreciate you taking time out of your guys' day to watch these videos. As always, much love, appreciate the love, and just your time, honestly. So hit that like button, hit that sub button, but more importantly, what do you think about JSN and the Seattle Seahawks this upcoming season?